Welcome to Backwards Incompatible, the video game retrospective podcast that's coming from inside the house. I'm your host, Crypt Keeper Chase.
And I am your host, Zaid.
I'm your host, Gory Garrett.
Yes. Backwards Incompatible, Halloween edition. The spooky season.
It's spoopy time, everyone.
It's too scary.
It is. Although, I swear, I've seen Halloween decorations go up really early this year. I feel like I've been seeing people put up Halloween decorations since, like, the middle of August this year. Have you guys been noticing that?
Earliest I've seen is July. First week of July after July 4th. That's the earliest I've seen.
I've only seen, early September.
Well, I've heard of Christmas in July, but this is ridiculous.
Oh no, I'll take Halloween over Christmas any day.
Yeah, I've always been torn between Halloween or Christmas for my favorite holiday. It's like, on one hand, I like decorating for Halloween more, but I kind of like the vibe of Christmas more. You know, this calm, quiet time of self-reflection on your loved ones.
Boo.
Don't do that. You almost gave me a heart attack there, Garrett.
I would choose Halloween over Christmas anytime. I prefer Halloween.
I guess if I had to choose my favorite, I might just have to go with Halloween. I'm all for the spooky autumn aesthetic than I am for the winter one, but...
I don't like snow and ice.
Well, you picked the wrong state to live in.
I didn't choose to live here, okay?
You had 20 plus years to move out, and you decided to stay.
I'm sorry, alright? Things came up and my plans got ruined.
Zaid, why don't you just move to some other state, huh? Did you ever think of that? Just have money to move out, God.
Yes. Money. That's something I have.
Honestly, Michigan's not that bad of a state. It's definitely, my opinion of living in Michigan has gone up in recent times looking at our nearby neighboring states, but that's neither here nor there.
My only issue with Michigan is the weather. I hate the weather. It sucks.
Yeah, but really, summer's very beautiful, though. You can't lie on that.
I don't like snow. I don't like ice. That seems to be all it does, outside of raining.
You don't like snow, it's cold, wet, and irritating, and it gets everywhere?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Well, since we are here in the Halloween season, what are some of your guys' favorite things about the spooky month?
Ooh, that's a hard decision, because there's so many things that make it great. I mean, the decorations are definitely a plus, but I mean, also it's around, the Halloween season when you get all the good, horror movie releases coming out and stuff, too.
Not to mention, you get all the fun, spooky Halloween specials that would air on TV back in the day.
Yeah.
When we were kids growing up, I loved Halloween specials for all the shows we would watch, like the SpongeBob Halloween specials and all that.
Yeah. I would say haunted houses and haunted mazes.
Haunted houses are fun.
Zaid, you and I went to a haunted house attraction, was it last year?
Yeah, I think it was just last year.
Jeez, feels longer than that.
It was literally just last year that I was working at that one place, so...
Oh, it's fun going to haunted houses with Zaid, because they just bribe all the people there.
I literally bribed, 3 of the people with, dollar bills.
This lady with a creepy decapitated dolls was trying to get to us, and Zaid, you just handed her $1. It's like, here you go, please leave me alone now.
She was, asking for food for her, a baby, and that we looked nice, and so I'm like, here, you can buy some food now.
Zane knows what the psycho's like.
I mean, aren't we all a little psychotic?
At least behind closed doors. I know what you do behind closed doors.
Ew, gross.
What?
Anyway.
No! You brought it there!
One small thing that I've always liked about the Halloween season is seeing the General Mills Halloween cereals come back onto the shelf. I don't know. They just remind me of the innocent, spooky times of my childhood. Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and all that.
Count Chocola's cool.
You also get, companies like Oreo or something like that that'll do special flavors for the season.
Yeah.
Recently I tried their pumpkin pie one, which is just you dump 20 pounds of sugar onto a pumpkin pie.
I'm not seeing the issue.
I'm not either.
Ooh, or those they're either Hostess or Little Debbie. I forget which one exactly, but the pumpkin spice gingerbread things, caramel mixed in. I am describing this product very poorly, but it's a nice little snack to have.
Were they also shaped like pumpkins or something like that?
Yeah, they got jack-o'-lantern's face on them.
Yeah, I'm remembering that a bit.
I really love fall weather, just in general. I think that's one of the very more liked seasons, I would say. Everyone just loves colors. I love colors.
I love the fall. I love the spring. Those are my two favorite seasons. I have to choose fall because I got Halloween this season.
I would have to say autumn's my second favorite time of year. My first would have to be, I think, spring. I think peak spring is a really great time. Around that mid-April to early May springtime, I would have to say is my favorite time. But autumn is a very close second. I just love the weather. I love how cool and breezy everything is, but it's still nice enough that you can go outside and do things. The trees, the changing colors and everything. And of course, seeing the Halloween decorations, that's always a nice plus as well.
My idea with like fall and spring is that they're kind of like refresher seasons, you know, because like you have like the two extremes, winter and summer. So like summer being like really hot, but then you go into fall where you can start putting on your hoodies, bundling up in blankets or something like that. It starts cooling down. It's nice and relaxing. And then spring is like you get to start taking off all the layers and refresh from that.
All the fun stuff.
I did have a fun Halloween question that I was trying to segue into, but the General Mills cereal mascots, I had this thought come into my head. They're all monsters, right? So I was wondering, if they all got into a fight, who do you guys think would come out on top, the General Mills monster mascots?
Count Chocula. Because, like, he's already a vampire.
I'm not completely familiar with all of them.
Well, let's see here. We got Count Chocula, the vampire. We got Fruit Brute, the werewolf. Boo Berry, the ghost. Frankenberry, the Frankenstein's monster. Yummy Mummy, try and guess that one. And they got a new one that they added this year, Carmela Creeper, who's like a zombie girl. Interesting.
I'll have to go with the OG Count Chocula. Why wouldn't he win? He's been around the block several times. He knows what he's doing.
Yummy Mummy's like ancient, bro.
I mean, Boo Berry is a ghost. Like, you can't hit a ghost. They're intangible, but they can hit you.
You do bring on a good point here, but what about the mummies? Mummies are like a weird point of like zombie and ghost in certain, depending on what lore you follow.
Yummy Mummy, he's got like that ancient knowledge.
In a lot of iterations, vampires and mummies are also kind of like low-level sorcerers, so they have access to some magic capabilities. So in some versions, mummies are basically sand benders. They can control sand, they can summon swarms of locusts in a few versions.
They also, in some areas, tend to be a bit of necromancers as well.
I banish you to the sandy realm, Jimbo.
I'm just picturing like Fruit Brute is trying to get at Yummy Mummy, but he's just standing there with his arms crossed while his sand shield protects him.
Oh gosh.
Alright, so after this small conversation, I will have to change my answer to the mummy.
Okay, how about we take out Boo Berry because he's a ghost, they can't hit him. Clearly that's OP. Boo Berry is banned for not being tournament legal.
Let's have Yummy Mummy have exile powers and can exile it to the afterlife. There you go. He calls Anubis.
I feel like we're sleeping on Fruit Brute here. He's a werewolf. That's pretty powerful, and I think he's got agility on his side.
Yeah.
Okay, look, physical strength and agility is really good, as well as a beast's keen eyesight. But if you don't have some magical powers to kind of like help against the other people, I feel like it just takes that one moment to basically end it all. Don't get me wrong, werewolves are very strong. Like, if I could become any sort of horror creature, it would be a werewolf.
Well, the thing is, though, is that, like, I feel like the vampire's gotten beat because, like, in every kind of lore I've ever seen, it's always a vampire coming out on top. Not to mention they have, like, so many other plethora of abilities that come with it.
Right.
As well as in most, like, lores that I've seen, the older the vampire, the stronger it is.
I feel like this is anti-furry propaganda.
I feel like Carmela Creeper might be the first one to go down just because she's just a single zombie. And as we all know, zombies get their strength from quantity. They get their power in numbers. So if it's just her, now I'm not too caught up with the Carmela Creeper lore, but I don't think she has a whole lot of magic in her arsenal to really back herself up. So I feel like just by process of elimination, a single zombie isn't going to be doing much damage to the rest of the General Mills roster here.
Yeah.
What about Frankenberry? Frankenstein's monster. I mean, when you get down to it, isn't Frankenstein's monster the original cyborg?
It's kind of like a zombie cyborg type thing. So I guess kinda.
I feel like Frankenberry might be durable, but I don't know. I feel like he might be too sluggish, or he might be very strong. I feel like him and Fruit Brute are evenly matched.
Yeah, I feel like Franken, all of his, like, strength are just really just in straight up power, just physical strength.
Right. I think the thing with Fruit Brute is he's kind of a glass cannon, you know? I feel like he can do a lot of damage if he can get the drop on you, but because Count Chocula and Yummy Mummy have access to magic, all they have to do is stun him from a distance or incapacitate him with magic possibly, and he's out for the count, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so Yummy Mummy versus Count Chocula. I feel like that's what it comes down to. Mummy versus vampire.
I mean, it really depends on what the mummy's got on the vampire, because unless it's like one of those like very powerful versions of the mummy, Count Chocula's got this all the way.
All right, I will say Mummy, just because I know. Okay, so even though vampires may have some sort of magical abilities and all that, I feel like Mummy, given that they have an ancient power that even vampires don't have, even though their ancient power is more like, I guess, invisibility or able to walk up walls, turn to a bat, that sort of stuff. Even though that's supernatural, it's not to the extent of what a mummy can do. A mummy, I feel, just call God Anubis and just be like, hey, bro, take him over. That's what I'm saying.
By that logic, couldn't Count Chocula call in some of his vampire buddies? Like, imagine if he calls in Castlevania's Dracula on his side.
Yeah, because like that's the thing. You got to count in like what type of vampire is this?
If we're including summons into this thing, then that just opens a whole lot of doors right here. So how about no summons?
At this point, we might as well just think of these as like, what's the strongest version of a mummy and what's the strongest version of a vampire, and see which one of those would win.
The strongest version of a mummy is literally conjuring stuff, I feel. Like, it's not only just sand bending, but it's the access to relics, maybe?
But the strongest version of a vampire is essentially a lich.
Is it a lich? I thought those were different. I thought liches were the undead, and
So
they
is a
weren't,
vampire.
Like, yeah, vampire is an undead, but it's not like a skeleton undead or a zombie undead, because a lich is like a zombie.
It's closer to a zombie type thing.
I mean, what are we if not skeletons with clothes on?
But I mean, you also gotta think about too, is that like, the vampires also have ridiculous amounts of strength and speed, not to mention its other magical abilities, and the older the vampire, again, the stronger it is.
Well, that might be so, but that would mean that 80-year-old Jimmy can fucking fuck me up. I don't know. I feel like even though their ancient powers kind of like get stronger the more people they consume, doesn't it ever leave their body? Because like they can't hold down all that blood. Let's be real here. They had to like pee it out.
Well, now we're gonna go into the scientific logistics of biology.
I think we've decided that Boo Berry is the strongest cereal mascot. Garrett, save us from this tangent.
Chase, we are going to talk about some ghosts ourselves. Ooh, spooky mansion time.
We are, yes. You know what also has ghosts? Well, a lot of things.
Video games.
I have a ghost in me.
All right. Let's get down to business. Luigi's Mansion, released on September 14th, 2001 in Japan for the Nintendo GameCube, developed and published by Nintendo, directed by Hideki Kono. This was a launch title for the GameCube, actually. Interesting choice.
Oh, it was?
No, I think it was a solid choice. It's not, I guess, it's something that you blow out of the water to pass the time.
It's all in the gameplay mechanics. It's all in the personal satisfaction of sucking up ghosts and cleaning the house and, you know, instilling in kids the joy of a neat and tidy house. This is the game that taught kids, hey, vacuuming isn't too bad of a chore. You can find money everywhere. Now, how come when I vacuum my house, I don't find gems and solid gold bars in between the couch cushions? That never happens to me.
You're not as good as a maid as Luigi is.
Well, no, the simple answer is you don't live in a haunted mansion.
Not yet.
It's your dream to be part of a haunted mansion setting.
You wish you could be rich like me and Garrett.
Huzzah.
I'm sorry. I really do like Luigi's Mansion because, again, as we've discussed on this podcast several times, I love the Haunted Mansion setting. I think it is a fun, spooky atmosphere that you can do a lot with. You can put in so many Halloween tropes and archetypes in a Haunted Mansion, and it all just meshes together so well. And Luigi's Mansion is a really interesting title. Not only has it gone on to spawn several sequels and a few remakes, but the development history for it is also really interesting because the development history of Luigi's Mansion, the game, is not too disconnected from the development of the GameCube itself. Apparently, the development team for this game had a lot of input on the design of the GameCube's controller itself.
Oh, interesting.
I think the reason the GameCube controller has a second analog stick is specifically for this game, that the Luigi's Mansion development team requested, hey, this would make our job a lot easier if we had a second analog stick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can argue that the analog stick was always going to be included because at that point, having two analog sticks was pretty much standard issue for consoles, but it is interesting to think of.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. I mean, if it, one of the main reasons why it gained the second analog stick, then that would be really cool, or if it played some kind of part in it.
It also took a while for the development team to settle on the final look of the mansion itself. Originally, they wanted it to be a more traditional Japanese mansion, but then they decided to lean into more of a more modern looking one. But then they decided maybe modern wasn't quite the way to go, so then they decided to look to the classic Victorian style aesthetic, and here we are. Although a part of me does wonder, what would Luigi's Mansion look like if it was done in the more traditional Japanese horror sense?
The ghosts would definitely be differently clothed, maybe. Like, these ghosts seem to represent those of Victorian era.
If by Victorian era you mean like Scooby-Doo, but yeah.
I do like that they kept with the Victorian, kind of like, since King Boo is kind of the big baddie, spoilers.
I do like the ghost design.
King Boo is the big baddie, and really keeping it Victorian, it kind of reminds me of, remember Super Mario 64 when we played that?
Mm-hmm.
That mansion was definitely more like this, more Victorian-like than it was something like Japanese-like.
There's no man-eating piano to jump scare you this time, though.
Yeah, I wish that was there for like a nice little neat reference.
One thing I really like about the mansion stuff, too, is just the aesthetic they went with outside of Victorian, how everything's all kind of like wavy and warped looking, just not right, I guess.
Right. And even though it's mainly Victorian for most of the layout, a few of the rooms are specifically themed. Like, we got a relatively modern bench rec room, we got a pool room.
You got a baby's room.
Yeah. A home theater.
Musical room. I love the music room. I don't know. I like music, and I like the musical boss that came with it.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
There's a hunting room with mounted deer heads on the wall. Possibly a reference to Evil Dead, but it might just be a coincidence.
My favorite room would have to be, I forget what the room was called, but it was the one that had like the little telescope in it where you can look through it.
Ah, yes, the observatory. That was a weird room.
Yeah, I really like it.
Luigi looks through the telescope and suddenly the room turns into space and he's walking amongst the stars and you gotta throw stars at the moon and it explodes like the Death Star.
You gotta blow up the moon! How do you like that, Obama?
Luigi's power level is too high. Okay, so Luigi is confirmed canonically moon-busting tier. That changes the entire Mario universe power scaling.
All he has to do is focus his gaze onto a certain object and he just explodes.
Have you ever seen the Luigi gaze that would be in like Mario Karts as soon as like he passed somebody? Like the death stare?
Luigi really is just the Shaggy of the Mario universe. He's a coward, but he also has unspeakable eldritch capabilities that you better be glad he's not making full use of.
You're lucky he's not on Bowser's side.
Mm-hmm. I will say this mansion layout kind of reminded me a bit of Resident Evil 1.
I get that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the animation that you get, the little cutscene that plays whenever you have to open a door with the key or when it's unlocked, very much gave me Resident Evil vibes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The 3D like animation was really good, and I especially loved the movement of the characters. It was clean, and it had character. Clean and character.
Yeah, the GameCube era, I feel like this is the era when they really nailed the personality of the characters with the graphics and the animation quality, because the N64 era kind of had that, but it was limited for the time. And you can kind of see this evolution as well in the original footage that was shown of this game at Nintendo Space World in 2000. Luigi looks a bit off in that footage. He definitely resembles, he looks more like a next step from the N64 character models, which makes sense, obviously, but it does kind of have this little uncanny valley effect where it doesn't have the same charm that the N64 models had, and it's not quite to the relatively more refined version of the final GameCube model, so it's in this weird in-between space, but...
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, things develop over time. Everything just ends up having this, like, weird phase, so just not looking right at certain points. I mean, it's just like when it comes to art in general, all art has an ugly phase where, like, it just reaches a point where it's like, this does not look right, and a lot of people give up at that point.
Might as well not even try. But you know who is trying? Luigi, because he has to rescue his brother Mario from the clutches of King Boo.
Mm-hmm.
I find it kind of interesting how this game starts, almost in media res somewhat, because it starts with Luigi already on his way to the mansion, which he thinks he won in a contest.
It got bamboozled.
Oh no, this is not what I was expecting. Why is there weird noises everywhere?
This is a detail that I always found kind of weird. According to Professor Gadd, he says that he's lived in this area for like 40 years or whatever, or 20 years, and there's never been a mansion here until a couple days ago. So did the Boos just spawn a mansion? I mean, I guess they can do that, but it feels kind of weird that the mansion was established as not always having existed. I just felt like that was a weird detail to be included.
What if it was the art ghost that made the mansion?
Van Gogh?
Yes.
Ever since, I learned that the Boos kind of like scammed Luigi, now I kind of think of them as the scam callers that you kind of get. Like they're on the other line just being like, oh,
King Boo is trying to turn Mario into an NFT, so remember NFTs?
Yep, I remember that.
You know what the Boos make me think of? You guys remember the cartoon Casper? And now there's like those 3 or 4 like mischievous type ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah, his uncles.
That's what the Boos make me think of. Like they're always just causing trouble and stuff.
Well, the Boos, they're very much based off of that classic cartoon ghost. I always thought Boos were honestly kind of cute, especially how they try to hide from you in more traditional Mario games.
Mm-hmm.
I do like their laugh. Even King Boo's laugh, I always thought was kind of adorable.
And yeah, the Boos and like what you were saying, like how they trying to hide from you, or are you talking about like how they like cover their eyes or whatever whenever you look at them?
Yeah, I just really like Boos in general. I just think they're really cute and fun. They're some of my favorite enemies in the Mario games, just because I just like Ghost and I like how I just like Boos. I just want to hug them.
They want to hug you too.
I would like a big plushie of one. They're nice.
What would ghosts feel like or taste like? I always thought ghosts would taste like marshmallows. I think it's because of Ghostbusters.
Well, that'd be fair. I always just kind of felt like they would taste and feel like nothing, and maybe just like cold air or something if one walked past you or on you.
I guess. I'm just gonna
I want to say cold, wet air.
Well, I feel like Boo specifically would definitely taste like marshmallows.
They squishy.
I feel like it's safe to say Ghostbusters was, of course, a huge inspiration for this game in some way, what with the whole Poltergust 3000.
Yeah, which I found funny. I'm just like, that's just a vacuum. I've seen these before. This is a vacuum.
Professor Gadd, after he heard that the Boos just scammed Luigi with his mansion, he's like, this guy's a total mark. I'm gonna get him too with this vacuum I just patented.
He's just been a vacuum salesman the entire time.
Let's talk about Professor Gadd. He is such a fun addition to the Mario Universe roster.
Mm-hmm.
I know he doesn't really have much of a presence outside of the Luigi's Mansion series, but he is just a really fun character.
I really like his design.
He's that funny cartoon mad scientist. He's like a mix between Professor Farnsworth from Futurama and a little bit of Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm. The fact that he has like one tooth that just like you can see the entire time.
I like how he's not so much a mad scientist per se, so much as he's a much more eccentric, off his rocker type of old man, you know?
Yeah.
He's like the lemon demon to Farnsworth Tally Hall. I hope that analogy makes sense to some people out there.
But because how they designed him, though, his age just does not, like, translate when you look at him. I just see him as some, like, younger guy, but he's just this older, like, grandpa, like, fellow.
Yeah. His voice is also kind of interesting. He kind of sounds like a chipmunk kind of voice, you know?
That doesn't help with his age, either.
I especially loved his character design. I gotta love the little hair that he has on top, kind of looking like a ghost figure.
Little single tough.
Mm-hmm. So Here's a theory. What if Egad was actually a ghost trying to take down the other ghost for kicking him out of the mansion?
I don't know.
What if Luigi was in a coma the entire time?
It was all just a dream.
All right.
What if Luigi was in the painting?
Okay.
What if the world was made of pudding? Do you ever think about that, huh?
What if he did? What if he didn't? What if the world was made of pudding?
Yeah. Professor Gadd. I like his spiral glasses, his little lab coat. You can also tell he's a total weeb because whenever you use the portraitification device, he Naruto runs from station to station.
Yeah.
I also just vibe with Gadd's theme music, like the song that plays whenever you're in his lab. It's just a groovy little tune.
Yeah.
But I also really like the song that comes up whenever he calls Luigi after he catches a ghost. You know, the one that goes, do, 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 do. I just find myself bopping along with that whenever it comes up.
Yeah, but one thing I found really jarring about is when it would, like, pull it up and kind of zoom in on the Game Boy horror. It was just, like, this hyper-realistic, like, thing in this game. And then they just put it back, and it's like, oh, now we're back to game graphics.
It's cute, but also, hey, Game Boy Color, in stores now.
Buy at your local GameStop at this time.
Professor Gadd, he's listing off all the special features you can use on your Game Boy Color. I mean, horror to Luigi.
I think my favorite music in the game though would have to be like when you're outside in like the courtyard area. Like that's my favorite bit of music in the entire place. What would yours be, Garrett?
I guess it would just have to be Luigi whistling to the music, kind of like just the general theme of the mansion, I want to say.
When you'd hum and stuff too.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I enjoyed that one the most. Just because the way they incorporated it into Luigi made me love that detail.
I did enjoy him like humming and stuff to like along with the theme every once in a while. That was fun.
Well, I guess I love the mansion interior one better.
It is pretty cool how the mansion's interior is fully modeled. When you go into first person mode and look around, you can see the walls and ceiling that you normally wouldn't be able to. It's not like a doll's house where only one perspective is shown throughout the entire game, which I think really helps for immersion.
Oh yeah, I think it does. I feel like that also kind of like speaks to like the technology at the time with the GameCube's capability versus like stuff before it.
Yeah, that was another thing too. Nintendo really wanted this game to be a graphical showcase for the GameCube in comparison to the N64. The lighting and shadow work was a major selling point for the game at the time.
Yeah, lighting isn't nice. The lighting in this game's like done fairly well, especially for its time.
Especially the shadow of Luigi hanging himself up in the attic.
Yes.
It's totally not a visual glitch or anything. No, it was right there, people. It was right in front of us. Nintendo is saying that Luigi has been dead. Open your eyes, sheeple. L is not real. It's been false, people. This is all Luigi's dying dream.
One thing I also liked about it, that like every time like you cleared like an area, it seemed to like light up the place.
Whenever you would defeat all the ghosts in a room, it would clear that room, and it is satisfying when you're able to just walk through the entire mansion. Everything's lit up, you feel so cozy,
yeah.
All the ghosts are gone. This entire game really does have a solid sense of progression when you're able to walk around with all the ghosts defeated and like, I'm doing it. I'm cleaning this place up.
It's also a good way of like just letting you know it's like, hey, you're done with this place. This area is lit up, it's good. You can move on.
Of course, partway through the game, Luigi does end up unleashing a swarm of boos upon the entire mansion, so you gotta find them. And hunting these boos was a bit annoying at times, mostly later on when they have more health and it takes longer to suck them up.
Yeah.
And you gotta keep chasing them from room to room as they try to flee and escape from you. I just feel like most of the time, you're just going back and forth between room to room, just chasing these boos down. It wasn't a huge issue or anything, I just thought it was a little annoying later on in the game.
Yeah.
A nice touch I like is that all of the boos, they all have unique names, and a lot of them are puns based on the name Boo. I do have a list of the boos here if you guys want to hear all of them.
I'm interested in hearing them.
Go ahead, I guess.
All right. So, we have Boo La La, Game Boo Advance, Taboo, Boolicious,
Bro, what the
Kung
fuck?
Boo, Bamboo, Bootha, Boogie, Gumboo, Peekaboo, Boomio, Boodacious, Booligan, Booregard, Mr. Boojangles, Limbooger, Boonswoggle, Boorus, Boo-hoo, Shamboo, Luigi.
Luigi.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, it's the real Luigi. I gotta get out of here. Little Boo Peep, Boo Bee Hatch.
What?
Boo Repetus? Boo Repetus? Boo Ripidus? I don't know. Boomerang, right back at ya. Boozcaster, Boolivia, Boonita, Underboo, based, Tambourine, Boofant, Boulderdash, and Boutique, as well as the two bosses, Boolossus, which is the huge swarm of boos coming together, and King Boo.
King Boo. With Luigi, I like to think, like, when Luigi catches him, he just, like, grabs him and is like, there can only be one.
Say my name. You're Luigi. You're goddamn right.
Goddamn right I am.
Aside from the normal enemy ghosts as well as the boos, there's the portrait ghosts, which are kind of like, I guess you can call them mini bosses throughout the game.
Yeah.
They're like the main ghosts of certain areas that you have to capture in order to move on to the next room. There's Van Gore, the artist, who has a accent, and he's the one that's been bringing the ghosts into reality by painting them, I guess.
Yes, and my theory is he's the one that made the mansion. He painted it into existence.
So, is he the original?
Then where did he come from?
Maybe not the original ghost, but he's the one that made the mansion.
Maybe. There's also a married couple ghost and their baby ghost, and there's also twin child ghosts, so that's some implications there.
Mm-hmm. There's also, like, a toy soldier ghost, too, where there's, like, 3 different toy soldiers.
The Clockwork Toy Soldiers, that was a fun boss fight. Well, I say boss fight, but you gotta be fast on your feet to outrun them, but that was a fun one. There's Shy Guy Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
those
yeah, the
ones.
Shy Guy. I really love that guy. I will say he definitely had a little bit more of a way to beat him compared to the other ghosts. The other ghosts, you just kind of flash the flashlight, scare him, and then try to suck him to the poltergust. But with these ones, you have to first suck off their mask, then shock them, and then you can kind of take them out. I don't know, just like that little difficulty spike, even though it's just not something it just makes the gameplay feel fresh.
Yeah, you just catch ghosts by flashing them and sucking them off.
Oh, God.
And there it is. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there was also the ghost dog that was in the backyard alongside the skeletons, Mr. Bones.
Skeletons are spooky. They go rattle, rattle, whenever they walk around.
Spooky skeletons send shivers down your spine.
Down your spine.
Pop quiz. What are your top 5 favorite skeletons in all of fiction? Go.
Sans.
Spoopy, scary skeletons. We got the skeleton in Luigi's Mansion. We got that one from one of the scary movies. We got that one from, that one episode of Scooby-Doo. I know there's so many. And then my skeleton, because I need it. And I depend on it.
Well, you better drink your milk and appease them.
I must give my bones strength.
What about you, Garrett? What are your favorite skeletons?
Alright, so Sans. Everyone loves Sans. I do too. I would say, like, just a normal skeleton from Oblivion, like Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Those are just some bad mamma jammas. Skeletor. Skeletor is a big one. Eins Ulgaun. Yeah, okay. Like him too.
Eins Ulgoen. I love how you created a real list and I just started listing random skeletons that popped in my head.
And then a skeleton popped up. Okay, my top 5 favorite skeletons. Jack Skellington, of course. He's got a lovely voice.
Yeah, so Jack Skellington.
Brooke from One Piece. The Skeleton in the Closet from Scary Godmother 1 and 2. The Skeleton Army from Spy Kids 2, Island of Lost Dreams.
What else is there?
And does Grim from Billy and Mandy count?
Yes, he's a skeleton.
He's depicted as a skeleton, so that counts.
All right, there you go.
I'm the only one that just gave just a random off the spot like joke list.
I was gonna say Sans and Skeletor, but I got sniped. I mean, again, when you think about it, isn't every vertebrate character, don't they count as skeletons?
Actually,
That's what my last skeleton was about.
So, is it implied in this game that Mario killed Bowser? Okay, so this is how I interpreted this. This game, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Sunshine, and Mario 64 all take place in the same continuity, at least in my opinion, because when it's revealed that King Boo is trying to get Bowser summoned or, I guess, resurrected. Professor Gadd, I think it's Gadd that says, "What? Bowser? But I thought Mario defeated him." And maybe it's just, it's vaguely worded. It could be referring to any past adventure with Bowser, but
Yeah.
it just made me wonder, did Mario kill Bowser, whether intentionally or not, at the end of Mario 64? And now in this game, King Boo is trying to bring him back to life?
I don't know. I mean, that makes sense. And plus, like, the Bowser battle at the end of
Yeah, that was weird. Is he actually Bowser? Is he just Bowser's body that King Boo's possessing? Is he like a mech suit or something? His head detaches and puts him back on.
It felt like just a giant, like, mascot costume to me. Like when the whole head thing happened.
This is King Boo's Koopa Sona.
It's his persona.
Think about this game from the ghost perspective. Luigi shows up, sucking and capturing all these ghosts. They're just living their lives in this mansion, They weren't bothering nobody. They were having a good time. All the portrait ghosts, they're all just having a fun time, dancing, taking a shower, playing a game of pool and all that. And in comes Luigi and is like, "You just booed your last who, motherfucker. Let's go."
Fuck you, ghosts.
I mean, I guess some of the portrait ghosts are kind of dicks to Luigi. They basically tell him to fuck off or whatever, but still, I know they lured Luigi here, but don't blame them for what their landlord King Boo is getting them involved with here. It's like King Boo basically invited the John Wick of ghost hunting to this mansion, and they're caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, I mean, like, two of them are just twins. They're just children, and they wanted to play hide and seek was all.
You know what? Fuck those kids. They were annoying, forcing me to find them in hide and seek in their boxes and restarting every time. Nah, those kids deserve to get captured and turned into portraits.
Fuck those kids.
Now that I think about it, portraits, another connection to Mario 64, paintings and all that.
Yeah, that's actually what I thought you were originally going to lead up with, was the whole, like, paintings thing, is how, like, Mario 64 is jumping into paintings, where it's turning things into paintings, and then Mario's also stuck in a painting.
Paintings upon paintings.
I think whenever you find Mario's items around the mansion to give to Madame Clairvoya, it does play the Mario 64 sound effect, that little star jingle thing.
Oh yeah, and also isn't, like, the fight against King Boo in a painting?
Yes, so you go into the painting of Bowser, which King Boo is possessing.
So was the painting in Mario 64 that led to Fireland that was Bowser's face on fire, was that foreshadowing?
Maybe.
Dun dun dun.
Nintendo is always 20 steps ahead. They're planning the next 50 games out as we speak.
That's how you break it out.
Looks over the list of their future games for the next 30 years, notices F-Zero is not included.
Oh no.
You know, guys, while we're here, let's talk about the main man himself, Luigi, or as he's known by his full name, Luigi Mario. Well, they're called the Mario Brothers, so that implies Mario is their last name, so Mario's full name is Mario Mario?
Mario Jumpman Mario.
I mean, it's not unheard of.
I
Like,
guess.
there are some people that literally their last name is the same as their first. Like John.
State your name, race, and occupation. Lizard man. Lizard man.
So I just looked it up out of curiosity, and it is, from what I can tell, confirmed that it is Mario Mario and Luigi Mario.
That's stupid.
That's from what I understand from like 2 minutes of research, but apparently that's what it is.
I know that's been a meme for Nintendo fans for a long time. I didn't know that was actually canonical. Well, there you go.
Again, don't just take that with a grain of salt. I didn't spend any real time researching that. That was just done within a minute or two.
Fair enough. Luigi, always in his brother's shadow, always the little brother player 2 to Mario. But I've always liked Luigi. I've always thought Luigi was the cooler brother. And I say that as the older sibling.
I've always liked him more than Mario, because I've always had more of affinity towards the color green than I have red. But also, Luigi, I like him. I felt like he was always left out, so I'm like, hey, he's cool.
Yeah, I also think Luigi is more #relatable, in large part because of this game, giving him more of a distinct personality, because Luigi was always just the green Mario for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And while this isn't the first game Luigi was the main protagonist of, anyone remember Mario is Missing? Yeah, that was a thing. But this is the game that really solidifies Luigi going forward for Nintendo. He is the coward, but he's got a good heart. Even though he's scared all the time, he will do the right thing and he'll always pull through. So you know what? He's reliable.
We like reliables.
Yes, very much so. I mean, he went in, he got his job done, he cleared the mansion with no help other than the professor.
Plus, him and Daisy make such a cute couple.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Mario and Peach, that never really struck me as being genuine. It feels like they're together purely for the optics of it, I feel like the foundation of that relationship isn't really all that healthy. But Luigi and Daisy, on the other hand, that's real. They like each other for who they are. Also, I feel like now's as good a time as any to really shine a flashlight on Charles Martinet's voice performance in this game. Because, as I'm sure most of you know, Charles Martinet recently announced his retirement from voice acting for Nintendo. And while the Mario games have never really been heavy on dialogue, the few bits of voice acting we do get throughout the series have always been so pleasurable and full of enthusiasm and wonder.
Yeah.
And with this game specifically, just the little touches of Luigi's voice, him crying out for Mario, his whistling, his little worried mumbles and everything to himself, it just really adds to the game's overall atmosphere and players' experience with the game.
Yeah.
I guess the bottom line I'm trying to get to is Charles Martinet was perfectly suited for these characters, and while I understand his reasons for stepping away from all of these roles, and kudos to whoever is voicing the characters from here on out, I wish them the best of luck filling these huge shoes. It's just gonna be weird not hearing Charles's voice coming from these characters anymore.
Yeah.
Did we talk about, like, the machine that we put all the ghosts into to turn them into paintings and the whole, like, process that sucks them through? Well, I mean, like, one thing I really liked about the whole, like, catching a ghost, especially the portrait ghosts, is when you turn them into portraits and it just goes through. You stick the vacuum up to, like, where you deposit them, they go through into, like, this weird, like, tank vat thing, and then, Gadd walks you through of how, like, they're invisible, so we must, like, compress them down to this little form and then put them into a painting.
I'm going ghost.
Wow.
I also use this machine for counterfeiting. Don't tell nobody.
Yeah, and then I think it's through that process where you learn all the ghosts' names, like, specifically, too.
Yeah, the portrait ghosts. A lot of their names are spooky puns based off of their personalities, kind of like the Boos, or very antiquated old-timey names like Neville and Orville or Uncle Grimly. Just another brick in that Victorian aesthetic that this game has going for it. Also, man, I gotta say, I know we've been kind of mentioning it throughout this entire episode, like I was saying earlier with the voice performances, but the sound design in this game is just phenomenal.
Delicious.
They did really well with it.
It really went the extra step for the sound effects and the music. It's all these little touches, the sound of Luigi's footsteps, the sound of a rainstorm going on outside, which just adds to the atmosphere, the jingling of keys, the ghost noises you can hear throughout the mansion. Luigi will whistle different tunes depending on if he's in a cleared room or still a haunted room. It's just so good. Even the sound of the poltergeist when you're just vacuuming around the house, the dust and everything. I really appreciate the amount of dedication and work that went into crafting the audio for this game.
Yeah, I also like how, like, with all the different ghosts, they gave them different, like, sound effects, though some of them are a bit annoying. They all just felt unique in different ways.
Sucking up the ghosts as their hearts lower to 0 as you finally capture them, and how the little, what do you call it? Not a jingle, but just the little musical notes that go along with it, how they keep getting higher and higher as you lower their health down. It's very satisfying. It's the satisfying final touch. When you can suck up multiple ghosts at the same time, it plays different tunes at the same time as well, and it all crescendos together when you finally capture them. So good.
Yeah, I also like the little note addition that they add, like, when you shine the light over their, like, heart or whatever, and then you can capture them, and, like, you get that little chime, like, hey, you can do this now.
I will say, like I've said before about my favorite music, it's interactive, and I think that's the big part, just kind of bringing in the player. I will say, okay, I like the references to, like, Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one in the music room, the pianist lady goes, she'll ask you, what famous game was this song featured in? And it's Super Mario Bros. 3, which makes me wonder, so that game exists in this universe? But
Yeah, it's really weird, or it's just a simple fourth wall break thing.
Right.
We aren't going to question the logistics, okay? We're just going to accept that Nintendo and Hideki Kono has this convoluted Ultra 7-layer plan, the 7-layer plot to Luigi's Mansion. We're gonna go into outer space, boys.
They already went there. That is Mario Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to development real quick, I just wanted to bring this up. I did find it interesting that a lot of the features in this game were kind of last-minute additions, several of which were suggested by Shigeru Miyamoto himself. Like, I think the feature of turning the flashlight on and off, that was a very last-minute decision to include.
Really?
It was?
It seems like it's such a staple, though.
Or Luigi's whistling. That was a very last-second choice that I think Miyamoto wanted to input. He wanted it to add character to Luigi.
Well, here's the thing. I think that makes him more relatable because I don't know if you guys do this, but I used to, like, when I was younger and I would get scared or whatever, or just be, like, somewhere's alone and just in the dark, I would kind of hum or whistle to myself, just kind of distract myself from that fear.
Yeah, I would do that too. Yeah, the main theme really does nail that really fun Halloween vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Even the little song that plays whenever you speak to the toads, it's very upbeat, and usually whenever you would talk to the toad, it would also turn the lights on to that room as well, so it really gives you the satisfaction of, I did it. I calmed down the screaming man-child.
Yes, you've calmed down, now stop.
The toads really seem to like hiding in bathrooms. I feel like that's kind of a, I don't want to say subtle running gag throughout the game, but most of the toads you find are in a bathroom of some kind, including one toad in the backyard that was hiding in an outhouse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I know you're desperate and scared, but of all places to hide, an outhouse would not be my choice.
So with toads, are they like a Mario thing where it's like they're all toads, but they're also all named Toad?
Some of them have specific names, like there's Captain Toad.
But they're all still just Toad.
There's George Washington.
George Washington.
Don't you know the founder of the United Toads?
That's my first president.
They all sound like Marge Simpson. I'll crump with you, Peach. Except in the movie where they're voiced by Keegan-Michael Key.
That was not the voice I was expecting out of Toad in that movie.
I wasn't expecting any of the voices in that movie. Why is Chris Pratt Mario? Why is Jack Black Bowser? But you know what? They made it work.
Why is Seth Rogen Donkey Kong?
Okay, that one makes sense.
I mean, fair. He did a great job, though. I mean, the voice actors did do decently throughout it, though some of them felt very uninspired.
Yeah, for the most part, the acting was pretty fine.
Yeah.
I just hope Danny DeVito voices Wario in the sequel.
Oh, yes.
Danny DeVito. Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, we mentioned her earlier, but one of the more notable portrait ghosts you come across, and one that actually decides to help you, is Madame Clairvoyant. She is a psychic who can see the future through her crystal ball, quote-unquote future, because I don't think she actually can. I think she's just bullshitting Luigi the entire time.
Another, like, joke or nod towards, like, pretty much all fortune tellers you find in real life.
Yeah, she messes up her lines, and most of the advice she gives Luigi is really just stating the obvious that he already knows. But I liked her. It is nice that she's the only ghost that's on Luigi's side, and even at the end, she decides to go out on her own terms. She's like, I'm tired of this whole haunting thing. You could just capture me whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, she's like, I'm done. You do you.
And then Luigi proceeds to start sucking her into the poltergust, and she starts flailing about like, oh god, I didn't think they would hurt like this. I didn't know ghosts could feel pain.
It was a bluff.
There are a few power-ups you get throughout the game, speaking of Madame Clairvoyant. After you meet her, this is where you get the first power-up, the fire ability. So fire basically turns the poltergust into a flamethrower, the water into a hose, and the ice into, I don't know, what...
I'd say the ice turns you into Mr. Freeze.
Hey, King Boo, chill out.
He just turned into Arnold's Mr. Freeze, just going around with his vacuum freeze ray thing.
I'm Mr. White Christmas.
Mr. Snow. You gotta get those Luigi thighs.
Going back to the power-ups, though, while they were nice, and you do have to use them to get through certain areas of the game and defeat certain boss, like they had ice around their hearts, so you needed to burn the ice shields around them in order to suck them up. For the most part, I thought the power-ups were not really all that necessary. You didn't really utilize them all that much, especially the ice power-up. I feel like you barely used the ice ability.
Yeah, I mean, I remember during, like, one battle, it was, like, super helpful. helpful, but I think it's because that's just how you're supposed to do that battle. You know, the one with the giant boo, that's the collective of boos.
Yeah, boo losses.
Yeah, because you'd freeze those and then suck them up.
I think it just has to do with the timing too.
You can use the water ability and water the plants around the mansion, and they'll usually drop money for you, which is useful. At the end of the game, depending on how much money you collected, it shows you what actual mansion Luigi gets. Professor Gadd decides to build him his own mansion, and it really does run the gauntlet of different housing markets for Luigi. Although I don't know what the Mushroom Kingdom's economy has to be, where a 5 million gold coins or whatever only gets you a cheap tent in the middle of a field.
That is the scariest economy I've ever seen, if that's like what it is.
Screw this shit. I heard being a landscaper's better.
Luigi just stops and decides to become a gardener for a while. It pays money.
What did you guys think of the final boss against the King Boo Bowser hybrid? I'll be honest, it's very memorable. It takes place on the roof of the mansion, and it's kind of this hellish landscape with fire everywhere, but I don't know. I guess I would have preferred it if it was just King Boo himself, like drop the whole Bowser bodysuit shtick and just fight King Boo. I feel like including
maybe
Bowser...
maybe started with just King Boo or just Bowser, and then like second half he either then puts on the Bowser suit or takes it off.
Yeah. Also, I feel like this boss fight requires a little bit more precision and movement capabilities than the game's controls really allow for. I don't know. It wasn't challenging or difficult or anything. I was able to get through it just fine. I just felt like it was very tedious and almost annoying, where I'm like, I'm trying to get through this boss fight, but I can't suck up King Boo because he's not where I think he is, floating in the air. I can't get too close to blowing up Bowser with these mines he's throwing, or else I'm going to take a lot of damage. And as I'm trying to suck up King Boo, Bowser's head is floating around shooting ice. And it's easy to dodge, but whenever it did hit me, just because I got stuck or I was focusing too much on trying to get King Boo, I don't know. Again, not challenging or difficult, just tedious.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Oh, I had one thing that did come to mind. Like, what was your guys' opinion of like when you get taken into like different areas for like the boss fight, and you have like that background of like that kind of like trippy, weird kind of background thing going on?
Yeah, that was really cool. Again, the aesthetic and atmosphere of this game, it's kind of lost in the sequels. So I haven't played too much of Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon. A little bit, but not too far. But I have played all of Luigi's Mansion 3. And while I do really like the more, I guess, groovy atmosphere of that game, where it's leaning much more on the fun cartoon aesthetic of it, don't get me wrong, that's fun and all, but I really do appreciate the, I guess, genuine attempt at making a Nintendo horror game for this game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a quirky, wacky Mario game. It's not gonna genuinely scare or unnerve you or anything. But I do like the overall atmosphere and tone of this game. Really does feel eerie, that the later games I feel like don't really capture.
I don't really have too much experience with the game series, so I can't weigh in on that.
Well, the vibe of this game, it all has to come down to atmosphere. And I will say that its atmosphere is just, I want to say, I kind of wish that mirrors were used a little bit more. I like the concept of the mirrors. Like, being able to see the ghosts in the mirror, and not, like, with you, and you having to kind of change perception in order to, like, fight them. To me, that was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I thought, man, if only that could be more, I guess, more prominent. It'd be stellar.
You do bring up an interesting point about unique mechanic. Well, not even mechanics, just unique scenarios, because there were several portrait ghosts that, like puzzle ghosts, where you had to figure out how exactly you're gonna go about capturing them. Because I feel like half of them were just pretty simple. You gotta suck them up or whatever. But most of the portrait ghosts, they had a trick to them. They had something you had to figure out in order to get them vulnerable. And a lot of the later ones I thought got a little bit more creative with it, which made made sense, progression of the game and all that. But like you're saying, Garrett, it did make me wish we got to see a bit more creativity with some of the environments and settings that you could find these portrait ghosts in.
Yeah, and I did find like a lot of the regular ghosts, stuff like that, to get very just repetitive and annoying after a while.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of variety to the enemy ghosts, which for a game this short, I don't think there really needs to be. I think they get the job done, but
Yeah.
the ghosts that would drop down from the ceiling or would sneak up behind you and grab onto them, those ones I can kind of do without. Yeah, they add a nice bit of diversity and variety to the ghosts you encounter, but I feel like at a certain point when there's a whole lot of them, they do get kind of annoying because every time they drop down, Luigi gets scared for a second and he freezes in place, and getting swarmed by all these ghosts, and it was just a bit of a little nitpick annoyance. But again, nothing major disrupted my play, and it's just how I play it. I know I could have easily captured those ghosts if need be, but yeah, it was just a little nitpick of my personal playthrough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. This is kind of like one of those shorter games that we definitely can.
Let's just get our final lasting impressions on this game. So for me, I first played Luigi's Mansion a few years ago. I never had it as a kid. I don't know, just never really crossed my path, even though I did have a GameCube.
Yeah.
I actually played Luigi's Mansion 3 on Switch before I played the original game, just due to how accessible 3 was to me at the time. But I just really like this game. It's just a fun little short burst game. It's not super long. It has a good atmosphere. I really do like the whole spooky vibe and aesthetic of this game specifically, that while I do like the later ones for what they are, this one will always have a special place for being, I guess, the closest to an actual Nintendo horror game, at least for the Mario universe. So yeah, Luigi's Mansion. It's a game that's very memorable, very distinct.
It's definitely sparked some positivity in terms of Nintendo creating something spooky. You know, Nintendo, they are just kind of known of not making sort of like spooky content games.
Right.
But
I mean, you say that, but there are some Zelda games out there.
well, yeah, there's Zelda, but usually when it's like Mario, at least I don't think of Mario as having something spooky, and I do like this twist on it, and like it that Luigi actually takes a role. It kind of shines a light and gives Luigi a character and being like, he is capable. Like, Mario can take care of, like, normal stuff, but Luigi, he fights ghosts.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. Mario, he got clapped by King Boo, and Luigi came around and was like, all right, dear brother, I'll show you how it's done, and just proceeds to be a badass.
Proceeds to just clean the absolute fuck out of King Boo with his vacuum.
Wait, so Luigi didn't know Mario was in the mansion until he got there, because
Right.
Luigi arrived thinking he won this mansion in a contest, so he had no idea Mario had beat him to it the day before, I guess, so...
Oh my gosh. Yo. Here's another gamer theory I just came up with. So what if that letter was actually from Princess Peach? You know how she sent the toads because she knew that Mario was trapped inside?
Dear Luigi, please come to the mansion.
Yeah, so like she knew Luigi would chicken out, and so she tricked him. She tricked him into thinking that he won. Well, that's just how the cookie crumbles, and it's just messed up how they kind of think of that. Princess Peach is like the Princess Bubblegum of Mario.
She can't keep getting away with this.
No!
I always knew we should abolish the monarchy. We already took out King Boo and King Bowser. Peach is next.
I do, like, really like this game, and I think that's just the general consensus that we have here. It's a great game, especially for what it was and the time it came out at. And what I like about it with the whole horror aspect is that, like, it's not really horror, of course. It's, like, spooky. So it's, like, gives you a nice, spooky, fun game with this kind of stuff without actually being a scary game. It makes it approachable for, like, anyone, whether you're a really young kid or an adult.
Spooky, scary skeleton.
I think even today, this is still the bar to cross for a fun, spooky Halloween game. I feel like this game it nails that Halloween fun vibe to it without being a genuine horror game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like that children's idea of like Halloween and stuff like that you grow up with.
I know the Mario movie touched on this a little bit with Luigi, but imagine if we got a Luigi's Mansion special for Halloween down the line. Oh, that'd be so
That would
fun.
be cool. Yeah.
We touched on this before, but this game really was kind of a bit of an odd branch for Nintendo at the time. Not only is it starring Luigi, but the whole focus on ghosts and a haunted mansion and everything. This game introduced a lot of stuff to the Mario universe, was kind of unique and different at the time, and that was all deliberate. The developers really wanted this game to stand out from the rest of the Mario franchise. And I know that this game includes a lot of characters, like you got Mario, Luigi obviously, as well as the Toads and I guess Bowser, but for the most part, it's all original stuff. Like the ghosts, aside from the boos, they don't really look like any other ghost in the Mario universe. Professor Gadd is this game's OC, do not steal.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that I don't see this as like a Mario game, but more of like a Luigi game.
Well, it is. That I just mean Mario franchise.
Well, if you look up just like the idea of like Mario games, it's like this is will definitely show up with it, but I just don't even like see it as like that same realm of stuff. Like, yes, same universe, but that's about it.
Right. It is a prime example of what a good spin-off should be for games, where it's in this universe, but it's often doing its own thing.
Yes.
It's connected to these prior games, but it is a different gameplay style. Yeah, it's just a really great example of how I personally feel like spin-offs for video games should be done. I'm not saying every video game spin-off necessarily has to be completely different from its parental franchise, but it is nice when you can take a pre-existing game series and just mess with its genre a little bit. A 3D platformer, make it a cool asymmetrical multiplayer game. A first-person shooter, make a strategy game. Why not?
Yeah, you know? I think that's all I have on the subject.
All right. Well, in that case, I guess we might as well end things here.
All right.
Zayd, you want to end things up?
All right, and I guess that was it for Luigi's Mansion. If you want to reach out to us, write a letter or something, you can get to us at backwardsincompatiblepod@gmail.com.
No, it's just backwards compatible.
Oh, backwards compatible.
It's just backwards compatible.
At backwards... Fucking hell. At backwardsincompatiblepod@gmail.com. Also, please leave us a review and let us know what you think. And follow us on any of your podcast platform of choice. I was your host, Zayd.
I was your other host, Crypt Keeper Chase.
And I'm your host, Garrett.
Thank you for listening.
And we appreciate you like always.
So did any of you guys feel like the mansion kind of looked like the Monster House movie?
Yes, it definitely gave off those vibes.
A little bit. It does give that feel.
So it's a girl house.
What?
Stop recording.